Coach, you mentioned last week the news about Jalen's knee. Who are the guys that maybe would be in the running for that spot? Did Kai Moore get a look sliding out there, or how does that kind of play out?
Yeah, we got quite a few guys that, have some position flexibility that worked out there during spring practice. That's the way we always try and do things, is the more you can do, the better. So whether it's playing guard and tackle, whether it's playing left side and right side, whether it's playing center and guard, we try and work guys all over the place. So, I'd say there's a handful of guys that certainly can do that, and that'll be something that we'll continue to work over the summer as well.
What are some of the remaining needs as you guys look to the transfer portal and go throughout the rest of the summer?
I would say just really continuing to add depth everywhere. At some points you run out of scholarships, but we've got scholarships available right now, and as long as we do, we're going to continue to try and make our roster better. Certainly there are some positions that don't have the depth that we would like to have right now from a numbers standpoint, and there's more than one, but that's part of it as we continue to try and build this program to where we want to be. But I like where we are today. If the season started today and who was on our team, I feel great about. But if we have the opportunity to add some other people down the stretch, which we're trying to do, we will.
Is it different going after portal kids after spring ball versus before? Is there anything kind of change after you've seen your team in kind of a football setting for a month and a half?
You probably know a little bit more about your team. The only thing is when you're recruiting, Trey Knox or Spencer Rattler or Josh Simon or Juice Wells, you only know what you know about them from watching them on tape, and you haven't even seen your other freshmen that you're bringing in. If you're doing it after the portal, you've got a much better idea about your own team because you've seen your team. And it's pretty much set except for a few guys here or there. So that's probably the biggest thing. You really know, okay, this freshman we think is going to be able to help us, this transfer is going to be able to help us, or, okay, this freshman may be a little bit farther away and this position is maybe a little bit more of a position of need now because of it. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just having a better idea about your team.
Getting to go. Go ahead.
I know it's really early with Trey Robinson being on the 7. What are some of those early returns you've gotten from recruits? From people mentioning him in the trail.
With who? I'm sorry.
Trey.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good. He hit the ground running. He got here on Tuesday, and he was on the road by Tuesday night once he came in, and we did the press conference and did everything he needed to do from getting ready to organized standpoint, and I think it's been great. The great thing that was a lot of great things. One of the things that was attractive with Travian was the fact that he, when he was at Georgia State, when he was at Tulane, when he was at Albany State, he recruited a lot of the same areas, and so really we've just plugged him in where our previous D-line coach recruited, and he's hit the ground running and has a good understanding about those areas and everything that I've heard. When I got hired here, I had a lot of high school coaches that reached out to me 2 years ago, whenever that was, 3 years ago, telling me that I should hire Travian Robertson. So there were a lot of high school coaches then that felt really, really highly of him, and he's only improved as a coach and a recruiter since then.
Getting to go to Charlotte, around the state of South Carolina, how important is it to you to visit with all of these people?
It's awesome. I love it, especially coming off a win over our in-state rival and a win over Tennessee and a lot of the things that we accomplished last season. Enthusiasm's at an all-time high here, and that's exciting, and love being a part of these events and getting out here and just having a chance to meet and visit with so many Gamecocks. I love that part of my job. I'm grateful to be in the position that I'm in as the head football coach here, so to be able to get out and see the joy on so many faces of Gamecocks is pretty cool.
What's one thing that a fan has told you, over the last couple of weeks, and you were like, oh wow, I didn't expect to hear that, and I didn't hear that last year?
I think just you really appreciate the amount of people that come up to you and just talk about how excited they are about Gamecock football, how much the wins down the stretch last season meant to them, the emotion of beating Clemson at the end of the season, the emotion of beating Tennessee or Texas A&M or whoever it might be. For me, that never gets old when you hear that from fans, and I've heard a lot of that, just the appreciation they have, but also the excitement for what we're doing and where we're going.
Antoine Wells was obviously one of the top receivers in the SEC last year. How did you see him in the spring continue to progress?
I think he really worked hard as a leader in that receiver room. I mean, he's got some other older guys in there with Xavier Leggett and Amarian Brown carry on when he's in that room. So it's not like he's the oldest guy, but he's got a lot of experience in there for sure. So one thing was just becoming even better teammate and a great leader. He did that, and there's so much more that he can improve on, and he'll tell you that as well. Route running and some of the new things we're doing offensively as well, continuing to get a handle on that. But I feel like he had a really good spring, and this summer's will be critical for him, and I know he's eager to get back at the end of the month and get going.
You did semi-tricky videos for all the players that got drafted or picked up by NFL teams. Why did you feel like that was something that was important to do?
I just wanted to show the appreciation for them. Justin King and our creative media team came to me like they always do and had that idea, and I thought it was awesome. Just, that's when you recruit a young man out of high school, that's the ultimate goal, to graduate, which we've had a bunch of guys graduate since I became head coach, but then have a chance to go to the NFL and play professionally. And it's really cool to see so many of those guys accomplish the first step on that goal of getting an opportunity with an NFL team, and the opportunity to sit down and thank them for everything. I mean, those are all guys that came in and accepted me as their head coach and worked really hard and did a lot of great things for Gamecock football the last 2 seasons. So I'm appreciative of them. And then it was pretty cool too to be able to just kind of sit down and think back on some of the memories you have with some of those guys and great moments, and there were a lot of special ones for sure.
Shane and Nick Evan-Warry obviously came in and had a huge freshman season right off the bat. Have you talked to him at all about, hey, you got to take a step up, or do you even try to put that pressure on him going into the next year?
No, I think my conversations with him have really been more, you did do a lot of good things, but don't lose that edge. Don't lose sight of the fact that no one last year at this time knew who you were. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like when we put together our recruiting class, nobody was excited necessarily about Nick Evan-Warry from Irmo High School. Now we were, but the general public, there wasn't a lot of expectations. And then he didn't start game one. And then obviously he came in after we had an injury in game one, and the rest is history. So he did a great job last season of just having an edge about himself and continuing to get better and better. And so that's the thing that I've just continued to challenge him on, and all of us have, is don't lose that edge, don't lose that hunger, which he won't. He comes from a great family, but then just realizing there's so many other things that you can continue to be great at, just knowledge of the defense and understanding what's going on around you, and not just at the safety position, but the other 10 guys around you also.
And he's out training in Texas right now, isn't he?
I believe so. We got a few of our guys that have kind of taken off and gone some places. I know some of our receivers and tight ends. We're going to hook up with Spencer out in Arizona, and I know some guys are going down to Florida to work out together as well. So it's good that they got a little break, and all forward if they can, continue to be working on their craft. I had 2 of our players call me last Friday night at 10 o'clock, and I thought something was wrong, and it was they were at the football facility and wanted to work out and just wanted to make sure that the security guard wasn't going to run them out of there. And I said, what are you guys doing at 10 o'clock on a Friday night working out? And the answer was, what do you want us to do? Be out in 5 points? I'm like, no. I think it's great where you are. Stay as long as you want. But we got a bunch of really good guys and excited that they're working like that, trying to get better.
Shane, obviously the second transfer portal window just ended. I know there's no grad transfer and things like that can kind of shift. But
Yep.
I guess, first of all, how did you feel like the transfer portal windows kind of worked in practice? And then secondly, what were maybe some of the differences between the two?
Between the winter and the spring?
Yeah, beyond just having maybe less going on during the spring.
I think that they're shorter. The spring one's shorter, which I get why the one in the winter is longer. You got a lot going on, bowl games and signing classes and high school ranks, and guys aren't going to bowl games and they want to be able to enter the portal. You got some guys that are in bowl games, they want to finish the season. So I get why it's long, but it's really, really, really hard in December and January because that window is so long and there's so many things going on. I don't want to say this one was easier, but it's 15 days or whatever it was, and there's not as many things going on. I'm not just on the road recruiting, whereas last year during that portal window, I'm on the road recruiting the whole time and trying to get ready for a bowl game as well. This time I was in the office, I was able to be around the guys. Our guys were here taking exams, so it was a little calmer, if you will. And as coaches and leaders in college athletics, we'll continue to look at ways to continue to make it better and all that as well. But I was pleased with how it went for us, and now there's some guys that are still in the portal that are still making decisions that we'll see how that goes too.
So you feel like it's kind of intended purpose, at least it seems like?
Yeah, because there was talk I guess last year at this time there was talk about that window going all the way like through May, which I'll be honest would be awful because it's like kind of like the old out of sight, out of mind expression or analogy, whatever that word is. Analogy, is that right? Out of sight, out of mind. That because guys would be home right now and they'd be out training different places, and I'm not around them, and that's tough. And that's a little bit of what happened with us in December. You know, if a guy's going to transfer, he knows he's transferring by the end of spring practice. He doesn't need the whole month of May to figure it out. And so I think from that standpoint, the fact that the window was shorter, it gave players time to go through spring practice, kind of see where they are, and if there's better opportunities for them elsewhere, then they can explore it. But it's not too long where it gets drug out too long.
Shane,
I'll be quick, Wayne.
So run defense.
Yeah.
It's been a concern the past 2 years. Going into this year, do you sit down with Clayton? Do you sit down with all the guys and say, here's what we got to do? I mean, how much of a hand are you having saying we got to do something drastic, or it's just, hey, it's going to get better?
No, I don't think it's drastic changes. I mean, I've been very clear with them, and they know it, that for us to get to the next level, we've got to be better stopping the run. You look at the best teams in the country; they're really good in run defense, and there's different reasons for it. It's easy to say, well, to be better against the run, you got to be better on the defensive line. Well, that's maybe true, but it's all 11 guys on defense. It's something that we certainly have looked at. How can we be better? Why weren't we as good as we needed to be? And then an emphasis in practice, and it will continue to be. I mean, it already is, but we'll just continue to emphasize it even more. But, to me, it goes back. It's fundamentals. A lot of the runs we gave up last year were because somebody got out of a gap, and what should be a 2-yard run turns into a 15-yard run. Or it's missed tackles, perimeter plays. We got to be better on the perimeter, and that's defensive backs. That's, a safety being in the C gap if he's responsible for the C gap and a run doesn't pop out of there. So Clayton and I have talked to the defense a lot about it's all 11. It's not just the linebackers and defensive line. And when I say all 11, it's being where you're supposed to be and then doing a great job tackling as well.